Welcome, this is GitGudGeeks, or Triple G if you prefer. This is where I let my masochistic side come out and I try to take on some of the harder games in various different libraries in an effort to, well, suck less at these games overall. The idea is to eventually go through, show you the process that I did to learn how to beat them, and then eventually do a full clear on them with no save states and no tricks, no nothing, just a full, straight clear. During this, I'll be pointing out various different pitfalls, challenges, and areas that I consider particularly brutal or cheap so that you can hopefully follow along and learn a few things about how to beat this game on your own. That said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's get started right off with one of the games that generally sits within the top 10 to 15 hardest games on the Genesis, Comix Zone. Now, the reason this game is considered so hard is, well, it's pretty damn hard, but maybe not for the reasons you initially would think it's hard. This is often listed as a fighting game. It's not really. It's really not. Yeah, you do beat up enemies and you have various moves, but it's more of a hybrid game. Now, I know what you're saying. Wait, geeks, what the hell do you mean hybrid game? What are you talking about? Well, I mean it's part beat 'em up and part puzzle game. You heard me right. This is more of a puzzle game than a fighter. Oh, you'll do plenty of fighting, but you will fail at this game consistently until you realize it's just as much of a puzzle game as a fighting game. The second reason people say this game is incredibly hard and almost too hard is that most objects you hit will chip away your life. Now, this is mostly true, but some people will tell you that everything, including hitting opponents, chips away your life. Those people, frankly, need to pay more attention. Punching a normal enemy commonly will not chip away your health. Now, there are some instances where you hit, say, a horn spike on an enemy's head, will take a little damage. But commonly what you're going to find is they snuck in a quick hit just as you did your hit, and that is why you took damage. Here, let's do a quick show and tell. Let's zoom in on Sketch while he beats up on one of the first enemies of the game. Since we can't see the life bar, I'll just put that here. Now, let's watch the fight. See, he seems to take damage only when he actually gets hit, which is common for any game known to man. Now, let's watch him beat up on, say, a grate. See how much damage he's taking by just wailing away on the grate? That is what makes this game harder than most. Most games aren't going to punish you for just punching on a grate or punching on a barrel. Now, I will say this, I don't think I've ever killed myself by punching on a grate, but I can't say for sure it's not possible. And if your health is low when you get through the grate, chances are someone's going to sneak in a hit, and you're dead. You only get 3 lives ever. This is true, but they're not really lives, they're continues, and that's another reason the game earns its rather and honestly earned brutal reputation. So why even try, you say? You eat damage on everything, you only get 3 tries. Well, for one, it's a gorgeous game. The graphics are some of the most appealing on the Genesis console, in my opinion, even to this day. Secondly, the idea of getting pulled into a comic book and having to fight his way out, frankly, it's a childhood daydream I think most people who grew up with comics had at one point or another, so the concept to this day even has a lot of appeal. Lastly, it's honestly fun in its own infuriating way, but you do need to learn some things that most won't be able to figure out without doing some quick Googling or finding the manual. So let's get into game and start learning some of them. First off, you're going to notice Alyssa as soon as you drop into the game world. She's pretty much your guide / narrator in the game, and will occasionally give you tips and panels that you're going to traverse if you stand still for too long, or just look like you're pretty well lost or stuck. But for now, just go over and pick up the jar of iced tea, the knife, and the TNT. To pick them up, just walk over to them and press down. And right. Hey look, your first bad guy! The first thing you're going to notice about this game is the enemies block a lot, so you're going to have to attack high, mid, and low to stand much of a chance. Luckily, Sketch is equipped to do just that. Just hitting attack will punch at mid-level. If you do diagonal down and attack, he'll do a low kick. Connect enough times and he'll do a double kick that sends enemies flying. Diagonal up will do a series of high kicks. Pressing down on attack will do a low kick as well. There are more moves than this, but let's just stick with these for now and beat the crap out of this guy. What do you say? So if you were to do like a side-by-side comparison and do one where you just punched at the guy and one where you kind of varied your attacks from like high, mid, low, etc., you notice that he goes down way faster. In fact, let's do that right now. You see how much faster the guy went down when you kind of varied the attacks? He couldn't block nearly as many of the attacks, you got more hits in. Matter of fact, all those whap, pow, kapow things that are going on, those are basically crits. So, the reason this thing kind of gets labeled as a fighter sometimes is it needs these kind of tactics, which is the same kind of thing you want to do in a fighter to trick the AI a little bit or to fake out a real opponent. So these tactics are good for those as well, even though it's not really a fighter. It's also not really completely a beat 'em up, and it's sort of a puzzler, and it's unique. Now let's show you how to use items. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you're using a 6-button gamepad like most gamers do these days. 3 of the buttons on your gamepad are going to correspond to an item slot. Almost every single one of these is a single use item save one particular item which you don't have yet. You might have to experiment with your controller layout to find out which button corresponds to what item. Mine is as follows because I'm using an 8-bit OSN 30 Pro. X, left bumper, right bumper. Now, go ahead and use the knife on one of the first 2 guys you encounter. The knife technically can be used for a few things, damage being the main one, flipping switches, and sometimes it will tear a panel revealing something else. From here you have 2 options, go to the right or go down. So let's head to the right. Go ahead and push the barrel to the enemy and hit A while pushing into it to break the barrel yourself with a shoulder charge. Don't just go wailing on it or you'll waste a lot of health for no good reason. Now, go ahead and finish that guy off and kick the blue hatch and then drop down. Sweet, you found Roadkill, your faithful pet rat. Now, how do you get him out of there? The dynamite, of course. Don't go punching it. Don't do that. That's why you have the dynamite. This is why people start hating this game. It's because they start punching stuff randomly and it does damage to you. So when you can avoid taking unnecessary damage, do so. Now that you have a companion Roadkill, I'll let you in on a little secret. This guy's amazing. He's absolutely one of the best items in the game. You can attack people by shocking them a bit so that you can get free hits, but his best use is fighting hitting items for you during the game. You can also pick him back up after using, making him the only reusable item in the game. Here's another quick tip for the next room. Don't push this box all the way against the wall. Push it just enough so you can reach the lever, then drop down behind it and push it through the trap door. You'll avoid a lot of damage from the fire barrels that are just below you. See? Just avoided a ton of damage. Congratulations. Now break the gate the same way you do all the others to avoid damage. Next, we're going to go ahead and knock this guy through this panel and through the next one. That'll basically just put him off into a chasm, or if he doesn't, you can just lure him over and he'll jump into a pit. Finish these guys off and you're done with this page. Now I'll admit this is a lot for just stage 1-1 of a game, but there's a lot of random mechanics that it's kind of hard to either find a manual for it, or you don't have the physical hardware, or you're playing this in some weird fashion that you don't really have access to a lot of the tips and normal mechanics that are pretty necessary to be able to complete the game. It's not like a lot of other games where you can basically just ignore base mechanics and succeed at the game anyway. You have to know the mechanics, you have to know your items, and you have to know when to use them. So moving forward, things should be much easier. Now that we're on stage 1-2, go ahead and use Roadkill again. Watch how he finds a hidden item for you here. Look, now you got some dynamite, so instead of punching the door to death, you could just use the dynamite right here. There you go. So, now you're into this area. Roadkill's going to come in real useful in this stage too as soon as you clear out all the trash. See those fans we just passed? He can go over there and flip a switch that stops them as soon as you clear out all this trash. See how I go ahead and use Roadkill here? He'll just go over and flip that switch. As soon as he does, you can pick him back up and then break the fan. Down you go, easy peasy. Now this next area, what we're going to do is we're just going to push this into the fan blades and then back away. Simple as that. Once you have a good grasp of how the puzzles work in this game, they're really not that bad. It's all about item conservation and knowing when and where you have difficulties and then using the appropriate item. Now this next section I'm not so sure I should cover, but I mean it's a pretty easy puzzle. Just stop the arms right where that little blue bar looking thing is. I always have to wait for her to finish talking so I can see it. Once you drop down here, you're just going to have a series of enemies. Kill these 2 real quick and then wait for cracks to form on those little cells and then just beat them up really quick. These are the kind of enemies that might hurt you a little bit if you hit them in the head because they have these small little horn things that are on them. You'll see them as one of them drops down here. See that? You might eat a little damage off this guy from punching him, but it's not the norm, let's put it that way. So it's best to use low attacks when you can, just to avoid as much damage as you can. However, you do have an iced tea, so you should be able to heal to full properly after this fight. You can see there's about 6 or 7 of these guys total that we're going to have to deal with. Now, the boss in this is also a bit of a puzzle. We'll get to that as soon as you finish up all this trash. Hurry up, come on. Why are you so slow? Come on, come on, come on. One more. You got it. Go, man, go! There we go. Okay. So as we move over, we're going to go ahead and use the health because you can't carry these over from stage to stage. Now, the best way to do this is to back up right where I'm at and just jump kick. As soon as this person jumps, as soon as this mama dragon thing goes up like that, you can run under if you're quick enough. I'm going to have to do this a second time. Just keep wailing away. It takes about 3 to 5 hits, roughly. If you're good enough at it, you won't take any damage, except for maybe going underneath there. Now, the best way to handle this is to let her light that barrel, and then just push it directly under her, and wait. Congratulations, you just finished Act 1 of Comix Zone. Hopefully you found this informative and useful, kind of watching my headspace and kind of what I did to kind of learn how to navigate my way through this game. I'll admit, when I first started playing it, the game didn't make any sense to me at all. So I spent a lot of time going, what the heck are you asking me for? Till I started realizing it was part puzzle game, and all the things that you could do, particularly with roadkill, in order to improve your situation. Now that we're in Act 2 here, I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'll do a video on that later, kind of going through that. If you guys like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. Want to see more of this content, please leave a comment, let me know what you thought of it. Anything that I can tweak, anything that you liked, anything that you didn't like, so I can make it better moving forward. Also, if you like more of my content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, that way you don't miss anything that I'm doing. Till next time, have a great day, happy gaming.